Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Apex Racing TV, and welcome back to the Radical Esports Cup. This is round number 7 of the season, coming to you tonight from Phillip Island. My name is Ron Mons, subbing in for J.R. Gregory this week. We've got Aaron Smith joining me in the commentary booth as usual, with Samuli Kumo working all the cameras in the virtual production hauler. Today, we're at Phillip Island, and what can be said about this track that already hasn't been said? This 12-turn, 2.76-mile-long road course is a wonderful ride in the world of racing. I've always felt that this track is a little bit on the underrated side, Aaron, but I want to know what your thoughts are before we head into this race.
Well, I can tell you from many non-races I've done here that I don't really know much about Phillip Island, to be honest. I literally could count the amount of races I've done on half a hand. I think maybe an F3 race, 3.5, and another, maybe a GT3 in there somewhere, and that's it. But it's a good spectator venue. I've done a decent amount of commentator work on this circuit, and in the Radicals it's a fairly popular choice as well. We do come here fairly regularly, and it always provides some pretty good action. Slipstream is fairly prominent around here. Only got a few high-speed corners, probably turns 1, 2, and maybe 9, and maybe the last corner, but that's usually flat in these cars anyway. So I think we should get some good racing. I might agree with you in saying that it's underrated, but I think it's probably a 50-50 track.
Yeah, I gotta say, this track is, it's one that you either love or hate. You know, it's got a lot of corners around it that are really tricky to try and get right. Turn 1, for instance, that's super hard. I've never had a good time driving around turn number 2 because I usually go off the track, albeit very good reason why I'm usually behind a microphone instead of behind the wheel. But the one corner that always comes back to bite me is the odd section heading through turn number 9, 10, and 11. That section right towards the back half of the circuit. A good overtaking opportunity, but my experience about 6 months ago at this point, I believe, covering the Radical Americas Championship here on Apex Racing TV, where some of the drivers that you've seen throughout this Radical official season have driven in the past. That section is really tough to try and get right. It's a good overtaking opportunity, though, as well. So let's see how things go in this race that we have coming up. Again, this is the Friday official race here on Apex Racing TV for the official Radical Esports Cup Championship. So this isn't a league, as our esteemed colleague, Mr. J.R. Gregory, always likes to say. This isn't a league race. This is just iRacing officials, these drivers signing up. We're covering the top split action here on the iRacing platform here today, and we've got an 18-minute long race coming up for you in the not-too-distant future. So in qualifying at the moment, I believe most of the cars have already set a time, and actually iRacing canning this qualifying session early because of some drivers already getting their lap times on the board well before the 8-minute qualifying session. The clock was far from exhausted by the time the checkered flag came out, but here is the starting grid for this race here today. And it's going to be Andre Castro, the New Yorker, behind the wheel of the number 2 car, going to be grabbing the pole position. Phillip, the German, will join him on the front row. We have Sally Reinen, the Finn, in third. Havard Gullikson starting this race in fourth. Andreas Friedrich in the P5 starting spot. Kim Andre Bjorklund in the sixth. Then we have Siversen, I believe would be the correct pronunciation of the driver of the number 6 car starting this race in seventh. Colin Brown will join him on that fourth row. Lucas Cortez and Dennis Kyriakopoulos will round out your top 10. Lasse Sorensen will start this race in 11th. George Gonzaga will be starting it in 12th. And looking through the final few starters we've got in this field, we have got Kettle Larson in P13, Luke Crowley in 14th, Chris Wetz in 15th, Samir Kadura in P16, Johannes Hesterman in P17, Mika Holkinen will be starting this race in P18. We got a decent grid here from this race of the championship, which is always one that is action-packed. For my entire time covering Radicals here on the iRacing platform, there is never a dull moment at all, but set to get things up and rolling from this race. Got a few more cars left to join the starting grid, and then we'll be locked and loaded for what is set to be a really good race. The green flag is out, and the drivers are on their way. Looking through the fields, a pretty good start from a lot of the drivers that we've got in this field, and let's see how they manage heading off into turn number 1. Leading this field is going to be, looking through right now, got a brief technical issue, I apologize. Christoph Lipp grabbed the lead at the drop of the green flag. Andres Friedrich dropping into second. So I think as I've been dealing with my catastrophic technical issues, Andre Castro having a catastrophic start.
Yeah, that was a horrible start for the American. Really not the way he wanted to begin this race at Phillip Island. It's a very clean start, though, from all of our drivers, which I have to admit, very, very unexpected. It's Phillip Island. Oh, dear, there's my jinx. It was kind of inevitable, and it's one of my worst jinxes of all time. We have about 5 or 6 cars there involved down at turn 4. That's, well, not my proudest moment at all, and my jinx still remaining strong here on Apex Racing TV. Let's see a replay of what happened. I think it was just some drivers in the back getting a little bit too big for their boots under braking, and you can see it was just some cars running into the back of one another, and yeah, that was about 3 or 4 cars smacking into the side of Kyriakopoulos, and unfortunate, but up at the front it's still relatively the same. Castro did manage to get one of those places back and is now into 4th place, but this should be a pretty good fight up at the top, as that's Kadura and Hesterman going off at the last corner. That's not really where you see drivers often going off, but clearly they've had some contact somewhere at that corner.
Yeah, so that's first incident we've seen hang through turn number 11, completing off a rather hectic first lap of this 18-lap long race. You can see Samir Kadora in that number 14 car making that call to come into the pits, running down in 18th. The last of the cars still at there on the track, which is still all of them, despite that big fuster cluck, for lack of a better term, heading off into turn number 4. But at the front of the field, it is 4 cars covered by practically nothing. You've got German 1-2 of Christoph Lipp and Andres Friedrich. Gullikson slotted his way up into third and all that drama at the start, and Andre Castro running in 4th as it stands at the moment. Not getting off to a good start at all is the American, but he's proven himself to be a rather strong contender in these Radical SR10, so I have no doubt in my mind that if anyone's going to work their way up from 4th back to the race lead, it's going to be our Repulsor of Castro. Yeah,
I'm somewhat inclined to agree with you on that one. Castro is a very, very quick driver, and Friedrich as well, one of the best starters in the grid, and there's Castro being opportunistic, but Gullikson is going to have the inside line at least for this final corner, but Gullikson actually chooses to back out of it and lets Andrea Castro go on ahead up into 3rd place. And it was kind of just the start of Friedrich getting a bit wide, Gullikson trying to avoid smacking into the back of him and choosing the outside line. And Castro saw his opportunity, went up the inside. But is Gullickson going to come back? He's not this time round.
Whoa!
But we're going 3 wide into the first corner. And Saudi Wrighton, and yes, good choice to back out of that one, as Siversen amazingly gained, I think, 2 places in one corner there, ahead of Bjorklund and Wrightonen. But now Brown in 8th place is lurking around to see if he can pick off Wrightonen as well. It's now 3 Norwegians from 4th to 6th, and then Wrightonen in 7th to trying to defend from Cullen. Brown desperately, but he actually tries to go for a move on Bjorklund at the same time to try and save his place. Bit of a tactical use there of his own car, and it actually kind of worked there. He just completely lunged it up the inside of Bjorklund to try and defend from the car behind, and actually managed to work, and he kept that 7th place.
Yeah, it worked out well for him. The defensive maneuver is going to be real important in this race. Around a track like this, you've got that start-finish straight away, but outside of that, these draft-heavy Radical SR10s, there's not a whole lot of overtaking opportunities. Despite that, though, these drivers certainly going to risk it for the biscuit if they want to get some moves done. Andre Castro certainly did a bad lap ago on Gullickson. That 3-wide action, though, the Scandinavian war going on between Siversen, Bjorklund, and Reinen was incredible. Heading off into turn number 1 a few moments ago, but Andre Castro maybe going to size up a move to break his way into P2 on Andreas Friedrich. Let's take a look at it. He pulls to that inside line, heading off into turn number 1. Friedrich's not back in have it, though. Castro setting a monumental lap last time by, still side by side, and being a banging doors coming at turn number 1, side by side through the long, never-ending left-hander of turn number 2, and Andreas Friedrich going to hold off that challenge for now, but Castro still within striking distance. They're side by side coming at it, heading down the hill through turn number 3. This is not a good spot for Castro, though. He's still going to be on the outside line, heading off into turn number 4. Needs to get it done with authority through the braking zone of the corner, which he does not do. This section of the racetrack, oh so vital for this battle, and if they continue to fight, it's going to allow Phillip to break away, but Castro finally going to get that move done on Friedrich after a wait of about 6 corners. He had to wait for it, but he eventually got the move done.
Well, I definitely think he's got the pace to be able to win this one. I think Friedrich has been struggling at least for the past few laps, and the slipstream of his team are definitely helping, and now Friedrich going a tiny bit wide. Thought that was going to leave the door open for Gullickson there, but I think he just about was a back car length in front and just about managed to hold him off for now. Siversen now catching up to the back of that queue and bringing along Kim-Andre Bjorklund, and Brown did manage to get past Wrightonen for 7th place. And quick correction from Ron, Finland is not part of Scandinavia. I actually found that out a few months ago, and I was shocked because I thought it was. As Wrightonen there easily getting back past Cullen Brown for 7th place once again. And Castro is making some quick progress on Phillip at the top. You can see 0.4 of a second already, and I have the feeling those two are going to be going wheel to wheel very closely, as George Gonzaga and Chris Wett's getting very close to one another. The American got extremely wide coming out of the second corner there. And will he try and fight back this position heading into turn 4? Doesn't choose to on this occasion, and will just stick in 11th place.
Yeah, the Texan behind the wheel of that number 16 car trying to get a move done on Gonzaga, but not close enough, and just touching back on that. That's another failure of the American education system, which is exactly why I usually assume that 2 + 2 = cheese. Getting back to the front of the field, though, and look at that. Phillip running dangerously wide, heading through turn number 9. Andre Castro may be within striking distance. I mean, certainly considering the times that those two are spread apart by about 0.4, heading their way through turn number 12 for the 5th time in this race. We haven't even hit the halfway mark. We've had a whole lot of drama. We'll note that Samir Kadora, after some lengthy repairs down pit lane, he's finally out and away, and he may get involved in this fight. He's coming out of the pits right now, so we may end up seeing him deciding this fight with Lip and Castro. But here we go, Castro getting the move done with authority, heading off into turn number 1, taking that run, licking the stamp, and sending it. Shows you how powerful the draft is in these Radical SR10s.
He just absolutely breezed by on that front stretch, and well, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think Lip's going to be able to fight this. I genuinely think Castro is just too quick today. He had a poor start, of course, but the speed at which he's able to get past these guys, some experienced Radical drivers, it just looks almost too easy for him. As Kadora, they're getting very, oh, excuse me, Jesus. Excuse me. Cadora getting very cheesy coming out of turn 4 there. He's got to be careful not to get in the way of his fellow drivers behind him. And, well, maybe I was wrong. Maybe Lip is going to be able to take the fight to Castro. And you know what? If I am wrong, I'm glad I'm wrong, because it just makes it more entertaining for all of us. So I hope I am wrong. But at least what I've seen so far in this race, Castro looks very, very commanding, very, very confident, even after such a poor start, which is what you want as a top driver. Even after some mistakes, a bit of a rough start, you just get your head down and get to the task at hand, which is exactly what he's done. And, well, look at him. He's in first, so probably a better spot than I'll ever be in these radicals, so fair play.
It's certainly a better spot than I've ever been in my entire time doing radical official races, which is not a whole lot of time, but I think I did make a broadcast about a year ago, which is still my crowning achievement of my iRacing career. Looking at a 3-car battle a little bit farther behind involving Sally Reinen from Finland, which is definitely not a Scandinavian country. You've got Kim André Björklund in the Sim Racing Norway car, who's definitely Scandinavian, and then Brown right behind, who's American. So we've got 3 cars converging on each other, battling for the final spots inside the top 10. Look at that, Brown trying to get the move done down the inside into turn number 4 on Kim André Björklund, and he gets that move done with authority. We'll note that Siversen has broken away from this pack a little bit. It's now about 1.3 seconds between Siversen in 4th and Reinen in 6th, so starting to break away a teeny tiny bit. Not sure if he'll have the pace advantage to close up to a fellow Norwegian in the form of Gullikson running in the final spot inside that top 4 pack. But this 3-car breakaway that we've got going on right behind is certainly quite exciting. We've got battles up and down this grid, and you can see Samir Cadora just in the back of shot. Cadora not really getting involved in that battle too much at the front. However, he's now going to potentially disrupt one a little bit farther behind this 5-car train that we've got forming at the present moment, involving George Gonzaga in the number 12 car, who are following right now. You've got right here, this Lucas Cortez in the number 13 car. He's occupying the final spot inside the top 5. Another American in the 4, Chris Wetz, is right behind. But never mind that. Let's look at this fight involving Colin Brown and Kim André Björklund. After the move from Brown about a half a lap ago, Kim André Björklund does slip his way back up into the top 7 for now. However, the game of leapfrog certainly going to continue with these drivers involved in battles up and down the grid, as we are slowly but surely knocking upon that halfway mark in this race.
Only about 2 more laps to go until we do reach the halfway mark, and it's still fairly close up at the front, a lot closer than I thought it would be. But I do have to be honest, I'm kind of thinking that the slipstream is sort of helping these guys stay very close to one another, but at the same time, it's a bit like a DRS train. They're very close to one another, but not quite close enough to actually go for a move. You kind of have to wait for the exact right moment, maybe a mistake from another driver, to really go for that move. As you see there into turn 10, the drivers are just finding it difficult to follow each other because of the nature of that corner. It's difficult to follow into the entry, as the dirty air isn't too powerful in these cars, but it can be at high-speed corners like turn 9, and clearly was too much for Christoph Lip on this occasion, as he did lose about 2 tenths going through there. But now down on the straight, you can see how much time he's gaining, but it's just not going to be enough going into the first corner. He needs to be about 3.5 tenths coming out of that last corner, I think, to have a go at Andrea Castro for the lead of this race. But, you know, like you mentioned, Ron, we're only about halfway through this race, so we've still got plenty of time left for him to plan his, well, just plan his attack.
I will say as well, talking about the drivers that we see at the front of the field, is Christoph Lip nearly attempting a move on Andre Castro heading off into turn number 4 a couple of moments ago. I want to talk about the lap times that we've seen from Andre Castro as of late. His fastest lap thus far was set all the way back on lap 3. Ever since then, I wouldn't say his pace has dropped off a cliff, but it has not been improving. It's been slowly dropping off. Just looking through, 123.4 is his fastest. After that, he followed it up with a 124.7, a 123.5, a 122.6. Actually, a 123.6. My apologies there. My eyes failing me at the worst possible time. But you get the memo. He's been dropping back in terms of pace. I don't think this is a matter of Andre Castro just not being a good driver. I mean, he's been fantastic to follow all throughout this season, despite the fact I haven't been on these broadcasts. I have covered some radical races that Andre Castro has been a part of, and he's an alien in these SR10s. Really the only driver who contends with him week in and week out is James Berry, the reigning 2-time Radical Esports Cup champion on the iRacing platform. But Christoph Phillip gonna try and add himself to that category as he gets a move done on Castro heading off into turn number 1. Rather textbook stuff, but look at Andreas Friedrich maybe smelling blood in the water. He's running in 3rd right now. He's got Gullickson pressuring him right behind. Castro maybe thrown off his groove a little bit just based off the fact his pace has dropped off in the nature that it has, but he's now got the draft assistance and he may try and get moved on. And Christoph Phillip yet again heading off into the corners. Gullickson going wide and off into the dirt heading into turn number 4.
Well, as soon as I looked away for 1 second, saw Havard Gullickson in the kitty litter there on the outside of turn 4. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Would love to get a replay. Thank you, Tamili, for reading my mind. And we can have a look at what actually happened here. So you can see him following all the way through here into turn 3. And then as we get into the braking zone, he just completely misjudged the situation there. And that's a scary moment. I mean, I know it's just a sim race and, you know, not real and all that. But, I mean, even that put my heart in my mouth. That was a scary moment for Havard Gullickson. And he was doing incredibly well. He was keeping up with the front 3 pretty decently. He probably could have been fighting for the lead of this race, but just one tiny mistake and it's all let go for him, unfortunately. But as we get back up to the front 3, we can see Andrea Castro not choosing to fight just yet. I imagine he's going to wait at least a few laps, as it now puts this battle that was for, I think, 6th, 7th and 8th. Now, Raitanen is fighting for 4th, which is absolutely incredible. So Raitanen has been slowly improving as the seasons have gone by, and he has been getting better and better. We've been mentioning it in the last few weeks. I think he got a podium at one point during this season. So he's once again performing here at Phillip Island. Let's hope I haven't jinxed him just yet. Getting extremely close. It's Cullen Brown and Kim-Andre Bjorklund as they headed through Miller Corner. As we head into turn 6, needs to be careful they don't run into Siversen in front of them. And they just about avoid touching the Norwegian there in 5th place. That got extremely close. And Cullen Brown, I don't think is going to have another opportunity on this lap to fight Kim-Andre Bjorklund, but he's at least going to try and follow him. And that's what I mean about turn 9 there. You saw how difficult it was for Cullen Brown to follow the 2 cars ahead of him. It's just so unpredictable through there. It's even when you're by yourself on a qualifying lap, let alone when you follow other cars in that dirty air. And it's a real tricky corner to try and go for a move. But if you can get it done, especially on the final lap, it's very, very rewarding.
And holy cow, we've got some bump drafting for the lead involving Christoph Phillip and Andre Castro. These drivers all now running kind of by themselves in a way. You've got Christoph Phillip in the 1 car running in P1. You've got Andre Castro in P2 running in the number 2 car. And they've got Andres Friedrich in the number 3 car running at your podium in 3rd. So nice little bit of fitting stuff going on there. Actually, it was, as we see Mika Hulkinen go off the track. I was just going to mention him a couple of moments ago. I was going to mention him in a few moments, talking about he was a hard charger thus far in this race, making his way up 6 spots. Before that, he's now back down to 15th, only up 3. So still a good drive for him. However, it has definitely been soured as a result of that off-track moment hanging through turn number 2 a few moments ago. So there's Hulkinen now back on the racetrack and trying to get his tires clean. Certainly brought some gravel onto the track. But it was completed even more by the fact that Havard Gullickson was running in P4 in the number 4 car. So some weird number stuff going on here at Phillip Island. I'm not sure if I like it or not, but either way, that's what's going on. And here's another thing that's going on. The battle heating up between Sally Ryden, Severson, and Cullen Brown. We'll note that we saw Severson kind of involved in his own little world. He was running in 5th and about 1.3 seconds in front of the rest of the field behind him. So not sure what happened to the driver of the number 6 car to drop him back down as badly as he has, but he's on the up and up, just got moved on and Sally Ryan and hang down that start finish straight away off into turn number 1. Now look at Cullen Brown trying to get one done on Raikkonen, and look at Kim-Andre Bjorklund right behind them. Kim-Andre Bjorklund, a driver who I think in my entire time covering this series is one that's just always been around. So Kim Andre and Bjorklund running in 7th, being the good camera car of this fight, as Reinen and Brown still going to be side by side through turn number 3 into the hairpin of 4. Who's going to win out this battle? Last late breakers, it looks like it's going to be Reinen on that inside line. He may try and get moved on Siverson as well. Not close enough, but this field very much so strong.
I'm not sure if that was on purpose or not, but I mean, calling him Raikkonen, I mean, same country, I guess.
Did I
and
say
he's
that?
Pulling, I don't know if I'm hearing things, but it sounded like you called him Raikkonen. I don't know.
My
But,
dyslexia may have come back to
definitely-
bite me on the ass there.
I mean, potentially, but he is putting in a Raikkonen-esque performance right now in 5th place. He's defending like a madman, as that is Jonas Hesterman into the kitty litter and deciding not to get going again. Not sure what happened there. Believe that's down at turn 6. And you can see what happens. Maybe tried to go for a move. I mean, there's a car spinning off in the background anyway. I believe that's Hulkinen. And Hesterman just stops. He's decided that he's had enough today and has pulled over. So, I mean, fair enough. I've not really seen too many drivers do that ever, as Raikkonen still defending from Siverson absolutely like a madman. And here comes Cullen Brown up the inside of Siverson to try and take away that 5th spot, and is actually in a pretty good, decent chance to try and do this. If he can keep the outside line heading into this corner, it will put him in a brilliant position for turn 6. Let's see how brave he's feeling on the brakes. Can he hold it round the outside? You've just got to brave it out, Cullen, but he just did not have the speed to carry it round the outside. And Siverson very much looking like a driver under pressure right now. So, yeah, like you said a few laps ago, he was kind of in his own little land between Gullickson and Raikkonen, and then lost about a second and a half. I'm not sure if he made a mistake or just his pace dropped off. Not quite sure what happened to him. But he's now stuck in this battle and still battling with Cullen Brown heading into turn 9. But round the outside of that corner is extremely difficult, and it did not work out for the American this time. But Siverson very much in the midst of it now. And, well, I mean, he can get 4th, so it's better than it was a few laps ago, but he's got to properly fight for it now.
Yeah, he has got a fight on his hands, and we've got a battle on our hands at the front of the field still. Christoph, Phillip, and Castro playing a very dangerous game, bump drifting, nearly heading down that start-finish straightaway lap after lap. I mean, Aaron, you're covering the European Championship. I was covering the Americas ones, but the rules still stand the same for each of those series. How bump drifting wasn't allowed in the Radical Leagues, which a lot of these drivers were participants in. But here in the officials, it's iRacing rules, so these drivers going to be given the front noses and the back bumpers of their cars certainly a lot of stress. So some small little scraping on them by the end of this race. Are they going to be war wounds of a winner, or are they going to be battle wounds of a driver who did not back their car into victory lane when everything is said and done from this race? Only a couple of laps left to go. We're coming to 3 to go this time by, and I'm curious as to what Andre Castro has been doing the past couple of laps. Obviously running in P2 if you want the dummies answer, but I think what he's been doing as of late is sizing up where Christoph Phillip is weak around this track, sizing up his weaknesses, sizing up where Andre Castro may end up being able to get a move done. Let's just wait and see. You can see using that momentum and locking bumpers heading down that start-finish straightaway. So Lip and Castro, they're playing their own game. I'm curious what Andres Friedrich is thinking about this as well. Castro probably thinking of any sort of way to get the move done to win this race. Andres Friedrich, though, I don't know about you, Aaron, but if I was Friedrich, I'd probably be looking at these two bump drafting and just thinking, hey, if they go off the track in a cloud of dust and steam, I'm going to be taking a comfortable win. So Andres Friedrich, I'm not sure if he's going to be forcing the issue in that battle too much.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time it's happened this season. Weirdly, we've had quite a lot of contacts up at the front of the field this season, as Raikkonen trying to go around the outside at turn 4. We've seen this move happen quite a few times in this race, but it's about a 50-50 shot. We've seen it work brilliantly for some drivers, and then others not so lucky. And this time Raikkonen just did not get the better of Siverson. And I think people have kind of realised that as long as you keep that inside line into turn 4 and you brake as late as humanly possible, and then you'll probably keep it going into the next few corners. Reitinen thought about going up the inside there, but I just don't think there was enough room. And now Cullen Brown round the outside. We've seen him try this before, but I mean, look at the speed he carried round that time and managed to overtake the Finnish driver as Bjorklund got extremely close there to Reitinen. And I'm guessing had to completely check up as he's lost a fair bit of time there. Oh, I mean, another heart-in-mouth moment for another Norwegian. And oh my God, he got very lucky not to make contact there. And that's the surprising thing as well so far this race. It's been fairly clean so far. Not really too much contact going on, only a few mistakes here and there. So I'd say pretty good racing overall so far. And we've still got about 2 laps left to go.
Yeah, pretty good racing and very clean as well. We have no retirements of this 18-car top split field, and the only driver who's been really just out of contention ever since the drop of the green flag was Samir Kadora, who we saw involved in an incident right towards the end of that first lap. But outside him, everyone on the lead lap, including Hesterman. I'm curious as to whether or not Hesterman had some sort of slowdown penalty, because I mean, occasionally, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, Aaron, having a ridiculous glitched out slowdown penalty where they're like, yeah, you need to slow down by 20 seconds in the span of 18, otherwise we're going to give you a black flag. But he's still on the lead lap, interestingly enough, albeit about 21 seconds back of Dennis Kyriakopoulos, who's occupying your 16th spot as it stands currently. So low attrition at this race here at Phillip Island. Just a lot of good racing and some strategic racing here as well, which is saying something because we don't have to worry about pit stops here in the officials. But as we're about to take the other white flag here in a couple of moments time, my attention is at the front of this field. Andre Castro getting that move done on Christoph Lip, but Lip gonna try and fight back on the inside, heading through his way through turn number 1. Look at Friedrich though, he's gonna be sizing up some moves to make his way up towards the front. Andres Friedrich, no stranger to Radical Esports Cup competition, no stranger to winning these official Friday broadcasted races on Apex Racing TV either. There's nothing on these drivers' minds outside of overtaking each other. The next closest car is Hesterman, and he's like 30 seconds up the road, so unless he gets struck by about 15 falling anvils between now and the checkered flag, it's going to be these 3 drivers in a mind and a world all of their own. Some battling going on involving Siverson and Brown and Reinen a little bit farther in the back, but I'm still got to keep my attention at the front of this field because Christoph Lip, I'm not sure if he's entirely done for in this fight, as well as a good and commanding move from Andre Castro. There's still one more good overtaking opportunity left, that being the hairpin at turn number 10. That we're about to see Christoph Lip and all these drivers at the front go through for the final time. Looks like Castro going to get a good run coming out of it. Let's see though, will Christoph Lip be able to time this run to absolute perfection and give us a photo finish in this race? Friedrich gonna give it everything. He's running wide. He may not be out of the picture as well. Let's see, heading their way around the final corner. Friedrich trying to get the move done on Lip. Lip not close enough to reel it into Castro. Big crash coming to the line. Castro wins it as Friedrich and Lip crash in a dramatic fashion on that start finish straight away. Friedrich going to end up in P2. Christoph Lip rounds out your podium in 3rd, but that was a hellacious collision for the both of them, and I don't think those 2 Germans are going to be very happy with each other in the slightest.
Well, no, not at all, especially considering they're teammates now, which, oh dear, that's going to be an interesting conversation to have in about 30 seconds' time. Maybe they're already on the phone to each other complaining, I'm not sure, but that was just bizarre. It was like Castro got an absolutely terrible launch out of the last corner, and then I don't think Lip really knew what to do. He didn't know how he was going to get the better of Castro. And then you can see Friedrich here just absolutely blasting past. I don't think Lip really knew where his teammate was, and, well, just completely swiped across his nose, and Castro looked in his rearview mirrors, laughing, probably. And Siverson, by the way, ended up in 4th, ahead of everyone in that battle. Reitinen was in 5th. Brown ended up in 6th. But wow, I'd love to see a few more replays on that incident, at least from the likes of Friedrich's onboard. That would be, I think, the angle that is going to show this best from 3rd, and then seeing Lip swipe across his nose. So he got an amazing run out of this last corner. Can see Lip being a little bit aggressive on the right-hand side. And then, yeah, Lip just drives across his nose. I can't really fault Friedrich there. And a bit of over-aggressiveness from Christoph Lip. Rare, I'd say.
Yeah, I gotta say, from my so-called expert opinion there, Aaron, I'm pretty sure Phillip pulling out when he did and just swiping across the nose of Andres Friedrich, he was trying everything in his power to hold on to the drift coming off the back of Andre Castro's car, and sadly, he just timed it to absolute commiserations there, so that's going to result in those two cars hitting the barrier. They still ran at your podium, though, and here are the results when everything is said and done. Andre Castro going to take the checkered flag, your winner here at Phillip Island. Andres Friedrich going to finish right behind him, P2. It was practically nothing between Friedrich and Phillip, so as we were thinking was going to happen, we did get a photo finish, albeit not the one we were probably expecting to, with two cars ready for the scrap heap coming across the line, but nevertheless, they ran at your podium in P2 and P3, respectively. Then we have Siverson finishing in 4th. Sally Reinen is going to round out your top 5. Colin Brown ends up in 6th. Kim Andre Bjorklund in P7. Havard Gullikson ends up in P8. Probably not the result he had in mind, considering he occupied a decent chunk of this race in 4th. So not the result he had in mind, but still finishing in 8th in front of a 3-car battle right to the line involving Lucas Cortez, George Gonzaga, and Chris Wetz. Those cars covered by less than a 10th. After a very long race here at Phillip Island. So credit where credit's due to all of those drivers. They put on a good photo finish, and hey, they didn't crash coming across the line. Luke Crowley going to finish in P12. Lasse Sorensen finishes in lucky number P13. Mika Hulken in 14th. Kettle Larson in P15. Dennis Kyriakopoulos going to finish this race in 16th. Johannes Hesterman in 17th. And Samir Kadora going to round out your 18 cars that are classified at the end of this radical official race at Phillip Island. But holy cow, Aaron, we were expecting some drama, and we certainly got it in spades.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it about halfway through the broadcast that we've had some contact for at least the front 3 a few times this season, and, well, it happened again. It's just a shame that it happened between teammates this time. That was really not what I was expecting. And I think you made a really good point there that sometimes when drivers are desperately trying to cling on to a slipstream of a car in front, sometimes they lose sight of the car next to them and it just completely leaves their brain. And they're so focused on trying to get the extra speed, but then they forget, oh yeah, there's a car next to me. And then they swipe across their nose. And, well, you all saw what happened. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, Phillip isn't a malicious driver. I mean, we all know that. So, yeah, just a lapse of communication between those two drivers. And, well, I mean, I'm sure Andre Castro absolutely loved it because he was probably absolutely bricking it coming up to the line, but then seeing both cars behind him completely bin it into the barrier, he probably felt quite relieved. And, I mean, out of all the drivers on that front 3, I'd say he probably was the most deserving to win. He definitely at least had the most pace out of those drivers, but it was a hard-fought battle between all of those guys all the way until the end, and it was mostly fair, mostly clean. Just a shame that it had to end like that.
Yeah, it's a shame that the race had to end that way, but for our race winner of Andre Castro, he is certainly not going to be minding it one bit. I will say before we drag Andre Castro in here for a quick chat before we wrap things up, just to wrap the bow around the storyline involving Johannes Hesterman, the reason why he was stopped heading through turn number 6 was actually because his screen went completely black, so that's not ideal at all. So technical issues are coming back to bite some of these drivers on the butt. Hey, it happened to be at the start. It happens to him during the race. But one driver who went through it scot-free is Andre Castro, who's waiting in the interview waiting area. Aaron, would you want to have a chat with our race winner of Castro?
Yeah, why not? I can drag Mr. Castro up for a quick chat. And, well, Andre, that was a bit of a dramatic end to the race. Probably not you or any of us were expecting, but you still came away with the win anyway, so talk with us how you're feeling.
Yeah, that was good. Obviously, you have 2 insert name guys there, so you want to, you know, they're probably going to try to do something, but in the end, they raced clean. Got a bad start, but I had so much pace, I was able to recover pretty quickly, and yeah, it definitely made me feel better, you know, after Christoph pulled 5 seconds on me at Montreal to be the quickest guy here. I just know I had to chill behind him till coming to the white flag, and just had to defend from Andreas in second, and then I almost messed it up anyway because I slingshotted by him, and then the last right-hander on the track, I locked up and went wide, and at that point I knew, well, if I can just kind of, I didn't really brake check him, I didn't make him slow down, but I made sure they couldn't fall too far behind at that point, so they couldn't get a run. on me, and ended up battling each other, and yeah, ended up taking each other out trying to get my draft. So that was pretty cool, and yeah, happy to come over with another win.
I mean, only an American would describe two cars crashing behind him as cool. And I mean,
Hey,
to be fair,
I can join Castro in that regard.
Didn't lose any positions at least, so.
Yeah, that is very, very true. I mean, I would have felt absolutely relieved. You're seeing two cars coming at you very, very quickly, and then they both swipe themselves into the barrier. I would have. Oh my god, probably something I can't quite say on the air, but you can probably have a guess. But moving away from this week, we move to Okayama next week, which I don't actually remember the last time we've been to Okayama in these radicals. So is that a race you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of us have a good amount of experience there. I mean, this track is one of my favorites, so I was definitely looking forward to this one more so than Okayama, but you know, whatever track it is, we'll just go there and try to do our best. So it's cool to have another teammate in the race today, Colin Brown in 6th and Chris Wetz in 11th. So it's a good day for the boys.
I mean, yeah, Colin Brown, I mean, I don't know if you watched these broadcasts back, but he put on quite a performance out there. Could have gotten 4th in the end, but good performance by him regardless. But thanks for having a quick chat with us, Castro. It's always a pleasure. And before we let you go, anyone you want to give a quick mention or shout out to?
No, just the teammates and the broadcast again, and also Andreas and Christoph for racing clean. And yeah, no, it was good to be back on. I think that's my first you know, SOF one of the season, so it's nice to be back, and hopefully we'll be back again a couple more times before the season's over.
Well, I'm sure they all appreciate the kind words, and so do we, of course. We work very, very hard here at Apex to produce the best streams we possibly can. And hopefully Okayama next week will be just as entertaining as this one. And yeah, once again, Castro, always a pleasure to speak to you, and good luck for next week.
Yep, thanks Aaron. Thanks Ron and Samuli. Thank you guys.
And thank you to Andre Castro, your winner here at Phillip Island, joining us in the commentary booth. And we got one more man waiting in the interview waiting area, that being George Gonzaga, now joining us in the commentary booth. Now, George, been a little while since we had a chat on a broadcast that I was a part of. So talk us through this race that we just saw here at Phillip Island.
Yeah, first of all, welcome back, Ron. It's been a while. But yeah, it was an interesting race. That lap 1, I think, says everything about this track. Is you either have the nail kit or you don't, and this is what happens when when people are not prepared, and it ruined the race of many people, which is sad to see again. So yeah.
Yeah, it was unfortunate seeing that incident hang off into turn number 4, and I'm gonna ask you about that. Do you think part of the reason why that was the case is because Phillip Island isn't used too much in the officials? I mean, for my entire time doing broadcasts, I think that's probably my 5th or 6th time ever doing a broadcast of a race here at Phillip Island. So, do you think that's part of the reason why that's the case?
Well, yeah, it's a less used track, but we used it a few seasons ago, if not last season, 2 seasons at least, and it even went on to the European and the American Championship. So yeah, it's a bit less known, but I think it does have a fan base among the regular drivers on the Radical. It's a very technical track, it's entertaining, let's put it that way. But yeah, it is Australia after all, so track temperatures are through the roof. And yeah, if we don't look after the tires, they will just ignite pretty much and starts to get really slidey. But it's a really good track. I think I speak for many people when I say we like it to be on the schedule. We hope that it's again in the future, not necessarily next one, but I think it's a really interesting track. I love it, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I started off the show by talking about how the track is a little bit underrated in my view. I always enjoy driving in from my time doing some AI races around here as well, because not really a fan of practicing for an official only to get destroyed by someone who had an internet issue, which has happened to me way too many times to count in my iRacing career. But I've always loved Phillip Island, so fingers crossed we will see it in the future. And who knows, maybe for the American or European Championship for the Radicals coming up at some point here in 2025. But here's an oddball of a track, Okayama. In 1 week's time, Georgia, my entire time covering Radicals, which at this point is basically like 9 seasons here on iRacing, don't think we've ever run at Okayama, so that's going to be an oddball of a race in 1 week's time.
Well, actually, funny enough, I've been doing studies for the league. I've been doing studies on track usage, and I think the last time we were in Okayama was 2022. So it's been a long time. But yeah, I again, same with Phillip Island. For me, in my personal opinion, as long as it's not the Nords, as long as it's not the Spa and the regular ones that we drive every season, and I'm sorry, gets a bit faded, I'm really up for it. And I think it's a good challenge. It's a free track, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, it motivates a bit more the participation, and, you know, it's a different challenge. People want to be entertained and be challenged by the getting to know new tracks, and obviously with this Radical since 2022, it changed a lot for the good. So yeah, let's see. I'm really looking forward to it. I might start practicing today, actually.
Yeah, funnily enough, the last time the Radicals ran at Okayama on iRacing, I hadn't even started broadcasting yet, which may have been a good thing, because back when I was 18, actually at that point I was 17, holy cow, I couldn't even ad-lib a fart in a baked bean factory. But George, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary booth, and before we let you go and get some practice in for Okayama in 1 week's time, is there anyone you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
Shout out to the teammates as usual. It was a bit of a funny finish today between Christoph and Andreas. Yeah, it was really fun being on the comms while that happened. They just started talking German, so it was really funny. Yeah, apparently Andrea obviously was trying to break the draft, and Christoph went to try to follow him, but he didn't realize that Andreas was there, so it was an innocent error, but yeah, it was still fun because they finished like hundredths of a second from each other. So yeah, a big shout out to them. James, he didn't came in today, but for the team, they've been doing amazing this season, and we were looking forward for a great 25.
Yeah, looking forward to the rest of the Radical action here from the year of 2025, and looking forward to next week at Okayama as well. I will say that scene of those two yelling at each other in German about that finish, that's a pretty funny image to have in my mind. But George, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary booth, and excited to see you back on the track for the rest of the season, man. Thank you for joining us.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
And that...
No.
As a true professional does, I dragged myself out of the commentary booth along with George. My apologies there, folks. But that right there was George Gonzaga, who may have gotten a jump scare as I followed him out of the commentary booth. So anyways, moving on from that, Aaron, Okayama in 1 week's time. That's going to be an oddball of a race. So what are your thoughts heading into that one in 1 week's time?
I mean, yeah, like you said, we haven't been there in about 2.5 years, maybe more. And yeah, I wasn't even commentating when we last went there. So, I mean, was the SR10 even out? That's the real question. I don't think it was in 2022. I might be wrong on that, but I don't think it was. I mean, maybe I'm old and this car is older than I think it is. But I mean, if that is the last time we went there and it was in the SR8s, then it could be a first in these cars coming to Okayama. And in my mind, I think it's going to be an okay track. It's not going to be what we usually see in these Radicals. It's not going to be a slipstream fest, really. I think it's going to be a lot more about qualifying and true driver pace than anything else. And then Brands Hatch the week after, I think, is going to be very similar. Barcelona after that, I think, is going to be a slipstream fest. Long Beach, I don't think I need to comment on that. And Nürburgring, again, it's going to be another slipstream fest. So I think we've got a pretty good final few weeks here on the Radical Esports Cup. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, fantastic second half of this season for the Radical Esports Cup. And I do have some news for you, Mr. Aaron Smith. I'm looking at it now. The last time the Radical at that point, it wasn't even the Radical Esports Cup. It was the Radical Racing Challenge ran at this track. It was season 4 of 2022, week 2 at Okayama. And in the commentary booth was our SMB, oh boy, not that. That was a random series of letters. Apex Racing TV colleague, Mr. Sam Fitzpatrick, was in there with a young buck named Aaron Smith. So, Aaron, I think, oh boy. So I think,
I forgot.
Before I say any more other broadcast company names, I think that'll do it for this broadcast here on Apex Racing TV tonight. So for myself, Ron Mons, Aaron Smith joining me in the commentary booth, and Samuli Kuma working on the cameras in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.